Welcome back, guys. Today I'm finally going to get started on something I've been waiting a long time to do. We're going to do the floor. I have intentionally saved it for just about last because of all the painting, all the projects, the glue. We got stuff all over it. I didn't want to have to always be worried about protecting the floor, cleaning it up. So I just made a mess of the floor of this thing, and now we can put our new one down. So what we're going to use is this Deco Floor Stone Core Plus. It's a vinyl flooring. The brand, I guess, is Uniclick. Ironically, this is one of the first things we bought when we got our camper. We went to a bargain warehouse and bought enough of this to do the whole thing, and it's been sitting stored up for 8 months. This is what the pieces look like. I want full pieces right here, coming from the middle of the camper. So I'm going to measure actually how far we are from this wall to here. I understand there's a lip on this back to that side. If it's not the same as this cabinet, I'm going to go off of the cabinet. But so then I need to measure back to there, measure the length of these, because I may have to cut and I may need to start with half of a piece. I don't want to be having a half a piece in the long run of the camper, if that makes sense, because if it doesn't measure out to the same, so if we go 1, 2, 3 and then a half piece here, that's a lot of half a piece length. I would rather only have half a piece right there at the doorway where you're not even going to notice it. So I'm thinking ahead, I'm planning. I also don't want to just have full. I think it'll look better if I actually cut one. So anyways, I got to figure out how much space I need, and then I'm going to cut one and start my run, begin here, and then we're going to connect everything once we get back here. So enough jabbering, let me get started here. So wall to edge here is 21 3/4. Yeah, this isn't going to be the same. That's 24 to there. That's a half. So that's 23 1/2. So they're not the same. So I need to go off of this one. I can't have a piece that's not cut exactly the same. I'd rather have it underneath the table. So I'm going to have a running strip underneath the table there. So I'm going to have to think ahead when I get to that as well. So I got to do a lot of planning when I get started on this. So anyways, 21 3/4. These are 7 1/8. So actually, I might get by with a full piece here. I think that's going to get me by. I might not have to cut anything because the 7, so 1/8, 2 3/8. There's obviously, you can always have a little bit of wiggle room. You want a little wiggle room when you put down this clicking flooring, because it's going to shift, especially in a camper. We're going to have cold and hot a lot, and we're going to be driving along and moving. So that's why when you use this stuff, you're almost always going to put down some kind of quarter round or some kind of baseboard. So actually, ironically, I don't think I have to cut this. I don't think I have to rip it lengthwise. I think 3 pieces of this exactly is going to work. I am going to cut so that I'm not starting with a full piece, because I do need to cut for this door frame and notch out some of this. Actually, I think that'll make it easier if I do cut it, because then I can cut each one. So, to begin with here. And make sure it's square. I need this piece to start because that's going to be our locking point. I'm literally just cutting this somewhere. I don't even know what length it's going to be. This stuff cuts pretty easily. This is the first of this particular brand I've cut, but I've done it in the past and it went pretty smooth. I actually should leave this on there. Now that should just, yep, it was scored, so then it just bent and broke. Easy enough. Now I have this cool little tool here. You've seen these on the internet, I'm sure. So now I've got my notch. I should have locked it. Let me lock it in place here so it doesn't move on me. Now, because this piece is pretty small, I can just keep using my square. Otherwise, I just use a level. But for this particular one, I can use my square. And you know what helps with this is pliers. So actually, I have some. I'm going to grab those real quick. This is pretty much what I expected as well. Like, I expected this to be kind of slow and difficult in the beginning. And, well, the beginning part's what I expected. Hopefully, when we get moving along, it becomes a lot easier. Alright, we got one piece that's sitting in there. We'll use the same piece, because of course we got to interlock, so we need this end. Our length we need, it's going to be 19.5 inches. Alright, and there we go, lock it. I should have locked it before I started that. Pull that out, lock it. Alrighty. Because of this right here, there was an ever so slight notch there as well, so that's what I'm notching that part out. Very, very slight. So again, it's lovely how easy this stuff cuts. That's one of the benefits of it. Now our first joint, we get to come in from this side. In fact, this one's probably gonna be best if I try to put it together and then place it in around that door frame. Let's see how this works. This is a painstakingly slow start, but you want to get started off on the right foot. So I think I'm learning a valuable lesson here. The joint, trying to get this slid in and working around the doorway. For this particular scenario, I probably would have been better off had I used a solid full piece and not tried to create a joint. There we have our first piece. It's got a joint in there. I'm also going to go ahead and screw this back down to help hold that piece in place. You guys have seen me get started. I'm dripping in sweat. The air conditioner is very noisy. That's why it's off right now. We're gonna go to a time lapse. We're gonna speed this up because you don't want to watch this entire process all day long. And I'm gonna get some air back on so I can cool down. So let's get back to work. Now the first lesson I learned on this day was that with these pieces of vinyl plank flooring that look like different cuts of wood, there's no point in cutting one and creating a joint there at the beginning. I should have just cut a solid piece and gone with that. My second lesson was there was no point in cutting out and notching out around that door frame because you're going to use some kind of baseboard trim anyways with this kind of flooring, and you want a little wiggle room so that it can float and breathe and expand and contract a little bit. So that was kind of wasted effort. And then my third lesson was right there in the corner where the cabinet is to the kitchen area, I had to notch like 3/4 of an inch. And I kind of pretended in my head it wasn't a big deal. I worked around it. You'll see it works, but it does create issues. Okay guys, so I try to always show you guys some of my learnings, my mistakes, where I goofed up, because for me, that's the point of my channel, is I'm definitely trying to do good. I'm not trying to make this like a joke, but I'm not an expert at things. And so I know a lot of you aren't either, and that's why you come to YouTube. And so, from just a normal everyday guy, something I would learn. I don't know how. I don't know if it's the camper. I don't know if it's me, because when we were at that end and I met into the run, there was, I didn't have to cut a piece. Hopefully this air conditioner is not too loud right now, but it's hot out. So I didn't really have to cut a piece, and I was able to start here, and we were just notched just a little slight bit. Actually, I did have to cut, didn't I? Yeah, it went in. That's it. So I didn't see forward. While this piece I was able to notch and work with that, then I had to cut that one 3/4 of an inch. So that's exactly what it was. Like, I did have to cut a little bit. It wasn't a big deal there because it's a straight section, and I didn't plan ahead. And what I should have done here is start with a 3/4 inch piece strip on this end from the locking in here and put it up against the wall. I did not do that. So I have pieced together stuff. This is going to work out. I heard a saying once from somebody that, when it comes to carpenters and contractors and handymen, it's not about how good a work they do. It's about how good you can hide your mistakes. I think we all mess up. So to notch in and get around the bed here, it's hard to tell. That's a nice thing. I did slap one screw down there. I probably shouldn't use a screw, but I did. We have a 3/4 inch strip that goes right along there. I should have really had one over there. Instead, started it. So then we meet here. There's a small imperfection, and I'm highlighting it for you guys. Let me tell you, when you stand up and step back, you're not going to notice this really. The one thing you'll eventually notice in this camper is there will be one gap right there, and it's going to be slight. So anyways, I had to cut that piece down 3/4 of an inch. This piece right here to get it to fit. I had to cut a small block to go in there. Again, like I said, we're going to put some baseboard around here, some quarter round or something. And trust me, when we get done, this is going to look good. So this is not interlocked right here. This piece I'm going to put in right now is not interlocked. What's most important, I can't work the opposite way. The most important thing is to make everything interlocked and running and fitting in the middle of the camper. Our sides and stuff, I mean, of course it's important, but we want a mistake to be over there, not in the middle. So I can't compensate this way. I mean, I should have done that. I didn't, whatever. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some glue on this particular piece right here. Glue that one down. I'm going to glue this one, and I'm going to glue this one. And so they're going to be placed in, sitting snug, shouldn't move. I'm going to go ahead and use Tight Bond, a multi-surface glue. This is like my wood glue. It's the same brand I use for wood glue. I just didn't, only reason I didn't want to open a whole nother tube of liquid nails. I use liquid nails all the time, but I didn't want to get into that right now. So I'll use this all-purpose stuff, multi-surface. I'm confident it'll work out just fine. It's already tight. I'm trying to... Oh yeah, that stuff's gonna work out good. It was already tightening up. I'm gonna clean up that glue mess right there. Of course, this one's being tricky because I got this door in the way. So I need to lift this a little bit. There we go. So that doesn't look lovely, let's be real. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of wood filler in there. I'm gonna try to find something that matches this. And that glue, that's the other thing I'm worried about. I don't want it like shifting, moving around while we're living in, while we're camping and whatnot. I don't want to be constantly reminded that that piece isn't tied in. I can tell you, I feel just by the way that felt just after a couple seconds, like the suction it had. I think once I put a little wood glue in there, or not wood glue, wood filler, you won't even notice. So I'm going to carry on. I'll show you guys at the end how it looks when I tidy it all up. Let's move on. As expected, this next amount of open space was knocked out in a very short time period compared to the rest where I had to make all the cuts and notches. I will say that I had to focus and make sure to get every single piece locked in place, not leaving any little bits of it out, not leaving anything unconnected on the slightest amount. You just had to really pay attention to make sure you got it all the way locked in. As you see, we are making progress. We're making really good progress. So I wanted to stop and pause because I just had a couple really, for me, pretty difficult cuts to do. And I wanted to walk you through them while we still could kind of see the work. So I got this last piece. It was ripped down, so it's not full length. The last one that went here under the table, it stopped right here where my toe is. So my next piece, fortunately, I was able to just notch out. I think we kept like 3 inches, and then we notched off like 1 inch of it. And then we went down here. I got my measurement. Again, we kept like 3 inches. And then I actually had to cut back in. So I had to do like a U. So that wasn't very super easy, but it wasn't horrible. Once it was cut and it fit, you know, I mean, this, you work this with 2 different angles. You work it from the end, locking in the interlock system, and you work it from the long edge. So usually I start on the end, lock that in, and then pick up both pieces and set them kind of up sideways and put them in, because you kind of got to work it in an angle to do this stuff. If you know, you know. If you've never done it, that's kind of how it works out. With that piece, I laid that one in all the way, almost like it was my first piece, because on your very first one, you're obviously not locking to the what would be our right now. So I put it in, and then I just, you know, it was a small enough section here. I was able to kind of lean it up and play around with this small chunk that is a ripped piece here, get that piece in. These two were super easy because it was just one solid piece. This is a ripped piece on the very end. It's like half of a board. So there's that. Then we had one that was rather difficult, but I mean workable. So it starts here, comes down this far. Again, we keep 3 inches of the board. We had to do another big U and come over here. And we had this door to work around. This little access panel for underneath the shower, that button, and this accordion door we had to work around. So we had to work around the bathroom door, the accordion door, and that access panel. So, you know, I took my measurements, I made my cuts, took me a minute. I wiggled the piece in. I had to extend this out to get it to fit because it was rubbing the floor and everything. And I can't really stand it up because this is in the way. That's the other factor of this one. So I wiggled and got it in long ways, and then I used my block and my little mallet and tapped it back as much as I could. Wiggled these 2 pieces together. So it's just a lot of wiggling. I know I'm like, this is the worst description ever, isn't it, guys? But there's a lot of wiggling, a lot of messing around, and we got it in. So I just wanted to show you and highlight that difficult fit piece. My next chunk's going to be a nice little short chunk. Obviously, we'll leave plenty of room here because we have that access panel for the electrical box. And then we got probably one more piece there. The bathroom's going to be a little bit of an adventure, but I think we'll get through it. So I'll get right back to you guys in a few. You've been seeing the process. I'm not going to continue showing you guys just, you know, me cutting and laying down and wiggling. So I'll show you the end product here in a few minutes, hopefully. Okay guys, we are done. I've been done for several hours, but I had to step away and take care of some other engagements. Feeling really good about this one. I did not do trim today. I just didn't get to it. I actually was given a great idea by my brother. At least I think it's a great idea. These are those plastic like tracks for hiding your cables and cords. And instead of getting true cord around and cutting it and everything with, you know, a Dremel or like an oscillating saw or something, and then having to nail it in, and I don't have a battery powered brad nailer, I have an air compressor, I don't want to drag it out here and everything. You know, these are nice and super lightweight. They've got that sticky on the back. They cut pretty easily. So yeah, I'm just going to use those because if you've ever done floating floor before, you know there is supposed to be a little bit of space because this stuff will shift a little bit and move a little. So you don't want it crammed in super tight. But as you see, I'm kind of just showing around different angles. I feel like it turned out pretty darn good. You know, we had to piece together a lot of pieces. We had to work around a lot of small objects and things. I performed a little, quote, magic. I performed a little magic with some wood filler. If you can not tell where it's at, that's awesome. If you see it, good eye. So, you know, let's play some Where's Waldo. Where did I fix things with some wood filler? Got some gray wood filler to tidy up some of the spots. You know, I highlighted to you earlier the one where I had to piece together and glue down back here. This is at normal height. You pretty much can't tell. I don't feel like you can tell at all. If you zoom in super close, then you can see that there's wood filler in there. But walking around in the camper and whatnot, I think it turned out pretty good. The trim work, it's going to be for another day and time. I probably won't film that. I'll just take care of it, you know, just cut it and use the adhesive and put it on. So I'm very happy with this flooring. I'm so happy it's done. It was a long process, but we got her. So like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.